Don Sweet. I'm a California attorney, and I head up the Bay Area offices of Rudnitsky and Associates. We provide estate planning, business planning, tax planning, and litigation services for our law clients. Today I wanted to take a brief planning moment and talk a little bit about estate planning and families with young children. Often when I sit with a family with young children, the first question is, what's the baseline we need to put in place? And I think there's two questions and two issues that we should always address as a baseline, as a starting point. Remember, estate planning isn't a snapshot in time. It's a movie that plays out over our lifetimes and those of our children. But the first issue is financial. If the primary breadwinner doesn't come home, what happens to the family in terms of financial? In other words, do we have enough life insurance in place on the primary breadwinner in case they don't come home? The family's going to suffer emotional loss, but are we also going to put the family in a financial position where they won't be able to satisfy or accomplish the visions, values, and goals that we hold for them? We don't provide those financial services, but we gladly and we look to work with your team of trusted professional financial advisors. The second issue, and that's more our realm, which is the legal question, and that's always an interesting one for families with young children. I think it's for a baseline. A starting point is put some documents in place, and those documents really speak for us if we're not there to speak for ourselves. The first type of document is a will. We want to make sure we have a will in place, because if both parents aren't there to speak to the judge about what happens to the people that we love and the things that we hold dear, the judge is going to make their best guess as to what we would have wanted. And a will simply gives instructions of what our last intent would have been. A couple of other documents, powers of attorney. That makes the ability for somebody to write the rent check or the mortgage check in case we can't because of, say, a medical crisis. If we're in the hospital, that allows somebody else to step into our place and write those checks. Another type of document is the Advanced Health Care Directive, and that really helps our family and friends if we're in a situation facing end-of-life decisions. What would we have wanted to have happen? Would we want life terminated, or would we want continuing efforts to keep us alive? And finally, letters of guardianship, and I think this is one that often goes overlooked, but really is the most critical. The reason we do all this anyway is typically for our children. And the letters of guardianship give instructions as to who we would want to raise our children, who we would want to live with, what church, what school. Really, who are the people that best express our hopes for our children? Because if we don't leave instructions behind, the judge is going to make their best determination, and she may or may not have enough information about our lives to make a good decision, the one that we would have wanted. And that's up to us to make sure that we put those instructions in place for the judge. So, this has been a brief estate planning moment for families with young children. Don Sweet. I head up the Bay Area offices of Rudnitsky and Associates.